Nobody expects a courtroom to turn into the most emotional moment of their life. But that's exactly what happened, and it was all caught on camera. There's a school auditorium. Kids are singing. Parents are clapping. It's supposed to be a happy night. But somewhere in that crowd, a woman is terrified. Because the man she escaped, the man who made her life a living nightmare, just showed up. And he's walking straight toward her. What happens next moves through a courtroom, a quiet judge, and a single moment that nobody in that room, or watching from home, will ever forget. Stay with me, because this story is going to hit you somewhere deep. Let's go back to the beginning. Her name is Sarah. She's 34 years old, lives in a small town in Ohio, and she has a 9-year-old daughter named Lily. Lily loves the color yellow, hates broccoli, and sings like she's performing at Madison Square Garden, even in the shower. Sarah built a good life. A small apartment, a steady job at a grocery store, and Friday movie nights with Lily where they eat too much popcorn and fall asleep on the couch. Simple, quiet, safe. But it wasn't always like that. For 6 years, Sarah was with a man named Derek. And Derek, on the surface, looked like a normal guy, coached Little League, shook hands with neighbors, smiled at the right moments. But behind closed doors, Derek was a different person entirely. It started small, the way it always does. A comment here, a look there, telling Sarah what to wear, who she could talk to, whether she was allowed to visit her own mother. That slow, creeping control that doesn't feel like abuse at first. It just feels like someone being protective. Then it got worse. There were nights Sarah stayed in the bathroom with the door locked, just waiting for him to calm down. There were bruises she covered with long sleeves even in July. There were phone calls she never made because he was always watching, always listening. She tried to leave twice. Twice he found her. Twice he brought her back. The third time, she made it. She packed a single bag while Derek was at work, grabbed Lily from school, and drove to her sister's house 4 hours away. She didn't stop. She didn't look back. She just drove. That was 2 years ago. Sarah got a restraining order. She found the apartment. She got the grocery store job. She started rebuilding, one quiet day at a time. Lily started singing in the school choir. Life was slowly starting to feel okay again. Then came the night of the school winter show. The auditorium was packed. Parents sitting shoulder to shoulder, phones held up. Everyone waiting for the curtain to open. Sarah was in the third row, saving a seat for her sister. She had her phone out, already recording, already smiling. She didn't notice him walk in. But then she felt it. That specific chill you get when something is wrong before your brain even figures out what. She turned around, and there he was, Derek, standing near the back wall, staring right at her. Her heart stopped. She looked for an exit. She looked for a staff member. She thought about grabbing Lily right off that stage and running. But she couldn't move. Fear does that to people. It glues your feet to the floor and takes your voice away. Derek started walking toward her. And then, a man stepped into the aisle. He was older, gray hair, glasses. He was wearing a plain jacket, nothing special. He looked like someone's grandfather. He stood there, calm as a wall, right between Derek and Sarah. Derek said something to him. The man didn't move. Derek said something again, louder this time. The man reached into his pocket. Everyone near them froze. Parents turned around. A teacher near the side door took a step forward. And the man pulled out a badge. He was Judge Harold Ellis, retired, 31 years on the bench in the Ohio court system. He had seen thousands of cases, domestic violence, restraining order violations, custody battles. 31 years of looking into the eyes of people who hurt others and deciding what justice looked like. He just happened to be there that night. Because his granddaughter was in the choir too. He had noticed Sarah the moment Derek walked in. He noticed because he'd spent 3 decades learning to read rooms. He saw her body language change. He saw the color leave her face. He saw her eyes go to the exit. He had seen that exact look on hundreds of women sitting across from him in court. He knew exactly what was happening. So he stood up, quietly. No announcement. No scene. He just put himself between a predator and a person who was terrified. When Derek saw the badge, he tried to play it cool. Said he was just there to see his daughter perform. Said he had every right to be there. Judge Ellis looked at him and said, very quietly, "Son, I've heard that exact sentence more times than I can count. And I'll tell you what I told every single one of them. This is your one and only warning." He then stepped away, walked to the side of the auditorium, and called the police himself. Derek was escorted out before the first song ended. He was arrested that night for violating the restraining order. Charged, processed, and this time, he didn't get out so easily. Sarah sat in that auditorium and watched her daughter sing. She cried through the whole performance. Not from fear, from relief. The kind of relief that fills your whole chest and makes it hard to breathe. After the show, someone pointed out Judge Ellis to Lily. And Lily, this 9-year-old girl who had grown up watching her mother flinch at loud noises and check the locks 3 times before bed, walked straight up to this older man in a plain jacket and hugged him. She didn't say anything. She just hugged him. He stood there for a moment. And then he hugged her back. Now here's the thing. This story went everywhere once it got out. And people had a lot of feelings about it. But it also cracked open a very real and very serious conversation that we need to talk about. Domestic violence doesn't end when someone leaves. That's the part that doesn't get said enough. Everybody says just leave. Like leaving is the hard part, and then after that you're fine. But the data tells a completely different story. Studies show that survivors of domestic violence are at the highest risk of being hurt or killed in the weeks and months after they leave. Not before, after. Because for a lot of abusers, that moment when they lose control is the most dangerous moment of all. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reports that on average, it takes a survivor 7 attempts to leave before they're able to stay gone for good 7. And that's not because survivors are weak or confused. It's because abusers are calculated. They know exactly what strings to pull. They know how to apologize. They know how to threaten. They know how to make someone feel like leaving is more dangerous than staying. Sarah leaving the 3rd time wasn't luck. It was courage built on top of 2 failures. A lot of fear and a daughter who deserved better. And even after leaving, she still had to fight. Restraining orders are pieces of paper. They matter. They help. But they don't physically stop anyone. They only work when the system actually responds. And sometimes, the system is slow. And the person with the order is already in danger before anyone picks up the phone. That's why what Judge Ellis did matters beyond just one night in one auditorium. He didn't wait for the system to respond. He was the system, and he used every ounce of experience he had to stop something before it started. When a reporter asked him about it afterward, he said something that stuck with a lot of people. He said, "I spent 31 years deciding what justice looked like after the damage was done. That night I got to do something different. That night I got to prevent it." Let's also talk about Lily for a second. Because kids who grow up inside homes with domestic violence carry that weight in ways we don't always see. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that children who witness domestic violence are more likely to struggle with anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming healthy relationships later in life. Not because they're broken, but because their nervous systems were trained to stay on high alert. Because normal was never actually normal for them. Lily had spent years in an environment where she learned to read her father's moods like a weather forecast. She knew which version of him was walking through the door before he even said a word. That kind of emotional labor in a 9-year-old leaves marks. But here's something that the research also says, and this part matters. One stable, safe, loving relationship can make an enormous difference in a child's recovery. One person who shows up consistently. For Lily, that was Sarah. A mother who chose her daughter over and over again, even when choosing meant everything was harder. And maybe, just maybe, it was also an older man in a plain jacket who showed her that strangers can be safe. That not everyone with power uses it to scare you. That sometimes somebody sees you and steps in and asks for nothing in return. Derek's case went to court 3 months later. He was charged with violating the restraining order and with harassment. His attorney tried the usual angles. Said he didn't know Sarah would be there. Said he was just there for his daughter. Said the whole thing was blown out of proportion. The judge in that case, who happened to have worked with Judge Ellis years before, looked at the file. He looked at the history. He looked at the police report from that night. Derek was sentenced to 2 years. No early release. When Sarah heard the verdict, she was sitting in the courthouse hallway with her sister. She didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She just leaned her head on her sister's shoulder and closed her eyes. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a movie. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just a number. 2 years. That means 2 years of not flinching at the sound of a car outside. 2 years of sleeping through the night. 2 years of Lily getting to just be a kid. That's what it meant. Judge Ellis went back to his retirement after all of it. He still goes to his granddaughter's school events. He still wears plain jackets. He doesn't think of himself as a hero, and he said that publicly. In one interview he gave to a local paper, he said something really simple. He said, "I just did what anyone should do when they see someone in danger. I got in the way." But that's the thing, isn't it? Most people don't. Most people look away because they don't want to get involved, because they're not sure what's happening, because they tell themselves it's not their place. And sometimes that hesitation, that moment of, "I'm not sure I should step in," costs someone everything. He got in the way, and that was enough. Sarah still works at the grocery store. She got a small promotion. She runs the morning shift now. Lily is still in choir. She has a solo coming up next month. It's a song called "You Will Be Found," and yes, Sarah has already cried about it 3 times, and the performance hasn't even happened yet. They still do Friday movie nights. They still eat too much popcorn. The apartment still has a little yellow doormat out front because yellow is Lily's favorite color. And some nights, after Lily's asleep and the apartment is quiet, Sarah sits by the window and thinks about how close everything was. How many times the story could have gone a different way. How one moment, one man stepping into an aisle, changed the entire direction of her life. She wrote Judge Ellis a letter. She thanked him. She told him about Lily's upcoming solo. She told him that Lily had started drawing pictures of herself on a big stage, performing for huge crowds, like she believes it's actually going to happen. He wrote back. He said he'd love to hear her sing someday. Sarah said she'd save him a seat. If you're watching this and any part of this story felt close to home, if you recognized something in Sarah's story, in those early signs, in that feeling of being trapped, please know that help is real and it is there. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788. You don't have to figure it out alone. And if you're someone who sees something, be the person who gets in the way. You don't need a badge. You don't need 31 years of experience. You just need to decide that you're not going to look away. That decision can change everything.